Hi everyone. So this we're going to start this lesson: government objectives and policies. You can see, government is very important in any organization, anywhere, any country. The government means that they are controlling party. They're elected by the people, right? Sri Lanka, we have Sri Lankan government, right? Recently, UK, there's Joe Biden elected. So the government lead by the president. So government means sometimes a set of this elected like members of a it can be a parliament or it can be a senate or whatever. So government is a ruling party of the economy. So economy, there are main parties are there, the household sector and then business sector, then government sector, and then foreign sector. So government means a kind of a ruling party. They are the one who enforce law and administration, everything, the system of the country, the system of that territory actually manage and control by them. They have the power to do it. So government, we are talking this here today, the objectives of a government, and then organization, mainly the government, how this objectives and policies affecting for the organization of the government. So as a result of that, you are finding out what kind of impact is there for an organization, what kind of impact is there as a result of the constrained public spending, why they constrain public spending, what are the government services provisions, and also we're going to understand how government can affect the business activities through the infrastructure provision and the supply side policy we're talking about, the legislation and trade policy also, and also you're going to understand the effect of interest rates on business and their consumer spending also. So here mainly we are not directly talking about their fiscal policy and monetary policy. We are talking mainly the overview of the government objectives and policy, why we need a government and what is their role. Right. You can see it's a very good case here called the boost in the Japanese economy. Uh, you can see government are responsible for providing a legal framework in the business, right? So they should be they are doing this by with the one reason, different reasons. You can see because of sometimes rising unemployment. This will be a reason because of that they want to reduce the unemployment rate. Sometimes they government want to change the policies to increase the can provide opportunities for the business organization. Sometimes they imposing constraint on, they want to discourage some kind of consumption, public spending they want to constrain, like this kind of like a different several reasons are there. So we'll find out what are the main reasons for the government to have these policies. You can see 20 years or more the Japanese economy has been a fairly we call it flat. That means constant, like very steady. This means that there is not grown much. Very few new uh, like jobs have been created and people income have been barely risen, and also many businesses have also been very cautious, even investing and planning to grow. At the end of 2012, a new prime minister was elected called the Shinzo Abe and took these three key measures to help the boost the Japanese economy. So as you can see, that's how like you can see Japan is a developed country right now in the world. You can see they are manufacturing and the especially the automobile industry, they have huge significant improvement. You can see. So these are the main measures taken by the Japanese economy. 2013, he began to increase the government spending, giving something like a, because they have earthquakes and so many things are there, and natural disasters also. And secondly, he inject cash into the banking system to increase the money supply to the bank. And also thirdly, some regulations aimed at controlling business were reduced. So that's called liberalization. Trade liberalization policies were reforms and everything were taken. So as a result of that, you can see the Japanese economy. As a result, you can see uh, this is the measures of total income of a country GDP measure. 2011, 12, 13, 14, 15. You can see there's a decrease of that thing, right? How might the, this is GDP US dollars, right? GDP level. You can see there's a, it's going down a little bit now. So asking what evidence there is to suggest that the economy is still performing weakly. You can see it's very clear because Japanese economy has been performing weakly for 20 years, right? Or more, they say. However, in the data in the graph, you can see it shows that even in the last 5 years, the problem still exists, right? The problem still exists, and the so I'm interpreting this graph. This kind of a question, sometimes in we can see in business papers like graph interpretation and everything. So you can see at this point, you can see the total GDP of the Japan have fallen clearly. 2011, you can see GDP value like 6,157 billion, but in 2015, we can see it had fallen to 4,383.1. So this is a poor performance, and since most countries would expect incomes to grow over time as the economy expand, right? You can see now there's a falling of the GDP. You can see there's a clear indication that economy perform poorly, weakly. Second question, they're asking how might the construction industry benefit from the measures taken by Shinzo Abe? Yeah, so one of the key measures taken by the Shinzo Abe was to invest more money in the infrastructure projects such as building bridges, tunnels, and earthquakes. No, like we talk about that in the case, like resistant road, like this would be benefit the business in the construction industry since they would get work needed to implement this measure. Actually, in 2020, they're supposed to host the World Olympic Games. This is Japan, Tokyo, but due to the COVID-19 thing, we had to postpone it. But there's a huge investment, huge construction has happened in 2020 in Japanese government because they want to host the World Olympic Games. That also actually give kind of a, this is like a 5 years ago. Actually, the construction industry was boomed as a result of that. And third question asking how might the lower interest rate benefit for businesses in this case? So you can see that normally, like when business invest money to expand or develop new product, like if example, if you take that, they often need to borrow the money, right, needed for the extra expenditure. So as a result of consequently, the if interest rate lower, what the meaning of that thing? Interest rate lower mean it will be cheaper for them to borrow. So it will be cheaper for them to borrow, and this would encourage more business to invest and in order to expand, since the risk of doing is so reduced with the cheaper loans. As a result, you can see the cheaper loan will reduce the cost of borrowing. Cost of borrowing will go down, and as a result, businesses will encourage to invest more money to expansion because the risk of doing is reduced now with the cheaper loan. And finally, this asking how might businesses in general benefit from the changes in taxation made by Shinzo Abe as a policy decision. So you can see this case, he reduced the taxation and everything. He reduced the lower levels of business tax will be welcomed by the businesses, and also which means that they could keep more of their profit as a result, because lower taxes always is a blessing for the business because they can keep more money, they can save more money for the future growth projects, and also they can keep more of their money and profit and everything they can keep. As a result, what happens? Some of this profit is likely to be reinvested also, right, to help the business grow. So lower tax on business profit might be also encourage more people also. You can see to get the set up businesses, since the financial rewards will be very great as a result of that. So this is the good method like a trade liberalization, government restricting the taxation for the business. That's what business encouraged to do. Okay, now we're talking about the government spending part mainly. So government actually spending so many things, not only one aspect. You can see there are multiple aspects in this pie chart, in this diagram, this picture. You can see clearly government budget, government spending actually focus on different areas. So those are social security, welfare thing, and health, education, core government services, law and order, defense, transportation, communication, economic and industrial service, interest on debt, and other. So this is a example of like a New Zealand 2015, how their government, the breakdown of the government spending in 2015, the New Zealand government. So New Zealand government, they spend 30%, one third of their income to social security and welfare things. So it's a welfare economy. And also they are spending 16% to the health of the country and 14% for the education of the country. It's very important. You can see how much they are spending for the health and education. Right? Like as a percentage of their GDP, you can see how much they are spending. So most of the money, one third is going to a social security, welfare, especially like a welfare of the people, like especially it can be insurance, so it can be kind of a the reduction of poverty, this kind of a thing. And also you can see the defense. The defense budget is only you can see this gray color, the ash color thing, only 2%, because this is a very the country is very peaceful country, so they don't need to that much invest on the defense activities. Right, like that you can see. These kind of a things must be able to interpret this kind of a things. The government expenditures are there on different areas. So government spending levels influence the business. High level of spending means the business are able to get more benefits welcomed by businesses. However, it also depends on whether the money is spent, where the money is spent. For example, if government decide to build a new motorway, the businesses in construction industry like to be benefit from the most, but spending on infrastructure we are discussing here. You can see the taxation also same, right? Normally tax income coming from two methods, like direct tax and indirect tax. The government tax policy we are talking separately in another day. So we are talking about the fiscal policy as a result. That's a taxation policy is the government we call as a fiscal policy. That means using the changes in taxation and government spending to manage the economy or manage the macroeconomic issues of the economy. So that's a fiscal policy, government expenses and taxes. So tax income can be come from two sides, direct and indirect. Direct taxes mean, example, you can say income tax, like paid on the personal income, right? And corporate tax from the government, like from the companies and everything, businesses have to support that. And also value added tax, everyone had to actually have some kind of value added tax. That's the goods and services we are purchasing our money from different goods and services. So everything the taxes has to be spent on purchasing price. That's called the value added tax. That's called the fiscal policy. Also below the examples are there, like income tax is lower, there will be more spending in the economy, and business may be respond by increasing production and spending. You can see that here, right? So so the organizations here, you can see income tax is now Sri Lankan income tax. Talk about the global level. The income tax is a key government main income source for a country, and also direct tax and indirect tax. Indirect tax means like a mainly value-added tax. That also a very good income for the government. But some countries are there, especially developing countries. The income tax, the direct taxation is very low because the people who qualify to pay income tax is very low as percentage of population. The income tax payers are very low in the economy. But on the other hand, value-added tax, you cannot get rid of the value-added tax because you must have everyone has, even the richest person or even the poorest person in the economy, everyone has to spend some kind of money for the taxes. You can see business may respond to the higher corporation tax by cutting investment by reducing dividends. However, in recent years, you can see number of government have cut corporation tax rates. Example include, you can see the Croatia, Denmark, Egypt, Estonia, Finland, Latvia, Lesotho, New Zealand, Norway. All these countries, you can see list of countries what they have done. They mainly lot of government they cut the corporation tax rate, right? Because why? The one reason with the government are cutting rates of corporation tax is to attract foreign businesses, cutting these taxes to attract the foreign businesses to locate operation in their countries. So this will help to create jobs and improve living standards as well. So you can see, and also they say that in Philippines in 2016, the President Rodrigo promised to cut the income taxes to for the low paid in his first speech after being elected. Like so many things are there. A lot of presidents nowadays. Even Sri Lanka, this income tax reduction, especially the value-added tax, is first given. Especially this is a COVID situation. Special packages were introduced by the government to boost the economy. Okay, now we talk about the constraint on public spending. What are the constraint on public spending? Like government always put some kind of constraint on public spending. Sometimes you can see quotas and tariff, and also like kind of like a barriers to trade. Sometimes they are putting, they automatically the prices will go up. In recent years, you can see some government have tried to constrain the levels of public spending. So one reason is because some countries built up massive debts as a result of the financial crisis in 2008. In US, you can see the 2008-9 there was a financial crisis situation there as a result of the like a mortgage the crisis, subprime mortgage lending, and the effects of business of the such constraints can be severe. You can see public sector business organization that supply services directly. You can see the organization get their funding cut. For example, hospitals, schools, universities, and also social service providers and libraries may be forced to lay off staff to cope with the funding cuts. There's another thing, like sometimes some constraints were there, some from the budget they actually do that thing, the funding, and they cut that thing. And also private sector businesses also, they rely on the public sector contracts for a part. For all example will be a hit. For example, private sector construction companies, then we can carry out government infrastructure work. We lose revenue if the government cancel projects. Sometimes, government, they are taking decision, okay, we are not proceeding this project because of the lack of funds, so sometimes they don't want to build that thing. That's a result. That's why a lot of government, they're taking some loans to build up the infrastructure in that country. So government cancels some projects such as road, rail constructions, house building, maintenance work. And some countries have cut defense spending. This will negatively affect the business and produce military good. Okay. And cut in pensions and other government payments. In some countries, government payments such as pensions and social security payments have been frozen or cut. This is bad because sometimes people are surviving out of this unemployment benefit, social security payment, like as USA, there's a called dole. And then that unemployment benefit, like if you're unemployed, you can apply for that from the government. They're giving some money, like few dollars for you for survival. And that social security payment have been frozen or cut. For example, you can see as a result of that, in 2015, the Australian government cut the amount of spent on family tax benefits. So businesses are affected by such cuts because the people who rely on the state benefit will have their spending power reduced as a result of that, which lower the demand in the economy. So you can see those things. Government doing some kind of constraint recently because of this. Okay, now we are going to a very important case study called the Greek economy. Activity number one here, you can see since 2008, the Greek has suffered more than some of the countries as a result of the financial crisis. However, the problem faced by the Greeks and made worse because the amount of money owned by the government, years of overspending, together with the impact of the financial crisis, meant that the Greece needed money from the European Union. For example, 2015, Greece owed a total of 322 million euros, had received around 240,000 million in bailouts from the European Union. In return for the money, Greece had to raise taxes and cut public spending. Look at the example of cuts included 20% cut in public sector wages. That's what they do. They cost cutting, and 30% cut in the wages paid to workers on state-owned enterprises. Public sector wages and state-owned enterprise, sometimes state-owned company. And lowering the spending on education. They have to cut down the education budget, defense budget, healthcare budget, public investment, everything. Right? You can see. And also, yeah. There's a very important called bailout thing. Bailout. We talk about this bailout concept here. Even this bailout concept was there, like when when government doing printing new cash and giving out for the get rid of the crisis. That's called the bailout. During the Barack Obama time in 2008-9, there was a bailout situations that happened like as a result of the financial crisis. Like companies like Ford and like some big companies in USA, they have to actually do this. They have to this bailout policy was they have taken place. They are government what they do, they in order to rescue them. So government doing some kind of a policy called bailout policy, right? It's bailout policy. You can see some organizations when they're going to almost going to bankrupt. What happened? Government, because it's very important entity for the economy. For example, say General Motors or Ford or something like a very important organization for the U.S. economy. So what Barack Obama did, they introduced some kind of like a bailout from the European Union. In this case, they say bailout means like printing the cash from the European Union and giving like a 0% interest loan. 0% interest loan. Like it's like a giving kind of a relief. Very sometimes zero, like a very important, like a sometimes interest-free loan they are giving to the government. And organizations actually as a result of that will be able to get rid of that burden, and they will be able to operate again without any problem. That's a bailout thing. So it happened to Greek. So they have reacted like that. Cost cutting, you can see it is going down like that. And like all the countries, you can see this is the different countries and the debt as a percentage of GDP. You can see Japanese economy, the percentage of GDP is very high. This is situation in 2015, right? You can see Japan, Greece, Egypt, USA, Brazil, right? And lowest Liberia 3.3%. Even Kuwait, Sweden, Brazil also they have the debts. That means the debt percentage mean every $100 or 100 rupees you earn. That means you have to pay, for example, let's say Egypt or USA, 71.8 you have to give is a percentage of debt of GDP. Every $100 you gain from the economy, 71.8 you have to give as a debt ratio. So what was the Greek government? Why was the Greek government has been forced to constrain its spending? Right? Why they want to constrain spending? You can see clear the answer. The Greek government has been forced to reduce its public spending because it has built up too much of debt. Years of spending, as in number two, 175%. So that is more than the income they have to spend. 175 is like that, and also years of overspending, together with the impact of the financial crisis, meant that Greece needed bailout from the European Union. In example, you can see 2015, Greece owed 323 billion euro and had received around 240 billion bailout from the European Union, right, to recover. And one of the highest debt as a percentage of GDP in the world. So you can see this chart. The Greece debt is 175% of its GDP. Okay? Only Japan is higher in the other in this sample. So you can see this Japan is like a highest, and after Greece. The second question they're asking: how might a government constraint on public spending? How they did this? This give two ways in your analysis, right? You can see the government's constraint they did in return for the money from the European Union. So Greece had raised taxes and cut public spending. They have clearly mentioned that. So one approach to constrain in public spending is to, you can see, cut wages of public sector workers. In this case, you can see Greece made a 20% cut in the public sector wages, cost cutting, right? And wages also has reduced 30% cut in the state-run enterprises. Another way of constraining public spending, you can see, is to cut the departmental budget. Departmental budgets, like in case of Greece, there was a lower spending on education, defense, healthcare, public investment, everything. Every department they do the cost cutting. So finally, cutting state benefits and other payments to people can reduce spending. Also, you can see Greece was forced to lower pension and social security payments as a conditions of the bailout. So the bailout given by the European Union. So when they are giving that, they are giving some condition. Okay, you can't spend this money like that. So please reduce the cost. You have unnecessary costs, so reduce the wage cost, reduce this cost, that cost. Like there are some conditions for bailouts. Okay, they're asking a very good question. Discuss the possible impacts on public spending constraint might have on his business. Discuss the possible impact public spending constraint might have on his business. You can see this case, the private fitness center. You can see this, say the Costa Sambran Sons, a private fitness center in Athens. So as a result of this case, what happened to the private fitness center? They also like to suffer badly, no? They also like to suffer badly as a result of the constraint in the public spending. Because with the cut in wages to public sector workers and the lower payment to pensioners, what happened? The many people would not be able to afford the fees, right? How can you go to gym if you reduce your income? That will happen. So as a result, what happened? Lower payment to pensioners and others. So many people would not be able to afford the fees for the fitness center. So spending on recreational activities is non-essential, and then faced with cuts to disposable income. So people will react by cutting down on this type of expenditure, right? So as a result, you can see the fitness center may have struggled to make a profit also. So at worst, you can see it may have gone out of business due to lack of revenue, right? It may have gone out of business because lack of revenue as well. So you can see, guys, now we talk about the different government spending thing and how government go into the cost cutting and everything, government constraint on public spending, everything. So we are going to find out these points. How can government affect business activity? For business firm, when you start a business, how it affect your business? How government can do some kind of influence? Simply by changing law, and for example, environmental law, right? When you want to apply something for a project, they can put a new law. For example, you have to adhere, you have to comply with this law. And secondly, influence the rate of interest and exchange rates in the economy. It's another thing. Influence the rate of interest and exchange rates in the economy. That also saying the exchange rate sometimes they're giving freely to decide by the market powers, but sometimes government decide the exchange rate. So that was another way business always exchange rate they can control, and also exchange change the levels of government expenditure and taxation, government expenses and taxation. Also, finally, introduce policies that have a direct impact on business, such as giving subsidies for farmers, supply side policy. These are certain measures to actually have an influence on the thing. So we are talking like in detail what kind of impact they can do. For example, infrastructure provision. You can see like a lot of infrastructures were there given by, when you look at the example of Sri Lanka. So they have given so many infrastructure like harbor. We have even natural harbors, but and also they have developed recently highway projects and airport projects. Everything is kind of infrastructure provision by the government, because these projects are very expensive to build up. So sometimes they need billions of dollars to spend, right? So you can see the example in 2015, Ugandan government announced the infrastructure investment like a top medium term economic priority. So a 10-year economic priority, say 1.1 billion US dollar spending program was planned involving Uganda, upgrading their transport network, because transportation is really important. Now, because of the development of the transportation, you can see the connections, the links of the cities will be very fast. So people you can easily move with their vehicles, like within 2 hours, within maximum, you can go to the other side of the country. 2 3 hours. So even the it can be built. You can see runaways like short distance. Like India kind of a countries like that. You can see they need budget airlines. You know, the railway system was well developed, but they need airlines also, right? So this kind of have a multiply effect as a result. This means the employees will spend some of the money received in these business from the government. And legislation changes. You can see without the government intervention, some businesses may not meet the needs of certain stakeholders. So legislation is also really important. So government has to provide the legal framework. So there's like a supply of everything. Legislation also, because that act by the parliaments and everything, acts and the gazettes, everything. So government legislations are really important for a business to meet the needs of certain stakeholders. And consumer protection, why not? Right? Consumers are protected by the government, right? So finally, everyone has to go to their complaints, everything. The consumer protection is sometimes problems, issues faced by the businesses, their malpractices, everything. You have to go and complain to the government. So consumer protection is done by them. And also you can see anti-competitive practices of the restrictive practices also controlled by the government. What is called anti-competitive practices? So you can see increase in the prices, good, unnecessarily. It's anti-competitive practices. Price fixing, where a number of firms agree to fix the price of a product to avoid the price competition, right? So price fixing is another offense done by a lot of firms. Price fixing, it can happen in share market, it can be happen in the when some games like cricket, they call match fixing. Ne? So these are offenses taken by here. Price fixing means like a firms agree to fix the price of a product to avoid the price competition. So as an industry, we have an agreement. In all the industry people, we agreed, okay, let's decide the price of the onion today. Let's sell it for 300 rupees per kilo. Then that's called price fixing, because the entire market, everyone agree with that price. So no one actually selling beyond 300. And no one selling above 300 also, because they know this is the maximum price they decided by the market. So it's like a kind of a carteling. So always having a kind of a cartel, having a kind of a, like it's like a mafia. So they can always they can always take the advantage of the market, and they can give the burden to the customers. And third one, restricting consumer choice by market sharing. Restricting consumer choice by market sharing. So this is another advantage. Market sharing. So that's another like a carteling thing, right? Restricting the consumer choice. Finally, the rising barriers to entry. Always, like we can see monopoly economies, you can see this is huge barriers to entry. Sometimes legislation barriers, sometimes they're putting kind of cost barriers, right? Permit barriers, bureaucracy thing, legislation, permission, government thing. So this important thing, sometimes requirements, new thing, legislations are there they are putting by spending huge amount of money on advertising, which smaller companies could not match, for example. So you can see now some countries have a lot of consumer legislations, like legislation cover a variety of consumer issues, right? And its aims of protect consumers from some of the practices mentioned above. So this legislation and everything, performance of products, selling goods that are not fit for the human consumption and selling goods that are not fit for the purpose, and also if business breaks such consumer laws, it may be have they have fined and have some time to compensate. Also, look at a good example of consumer protection legislation acts in the UK, Sale of Good Act 1979 and Food Safety Act 1990. Both of these acts actually uh, was there in order to protect the consumers. Sale of good Act say the goods should be fit for the purpose. Okay? The customers cannot be sold a paint that peels in the sun after 1 month, or waterproof coat which left let's in the rain like that. So it should be fit for the purpose. It should be, if it's a waterproof coat, it should be waterproof. Should be like a waterproof watch. Should be where must be where should be able to use underwater. That's called fit for the purpose. And second one, like Food Safety Act, they say 1990. This law means that the food should be fit for the human consumption and comply with the safety standard. Like that. So business should not sell the frozen food. It has defrosted, been refrozen or fresh product that is decayed. Like that. So food safety act also really important. Uh, Otherwise, food poisoning, everything can be happen. So this chart, this diagram shows everything actually how consumer issues covered by legislation. The main topics we covered, very important diagram. You can see price issues are covered by legislation, price like price fixing and everything. And information given about the product, that also covered by here. Information like sometimes advertisement, everything. Some commercial they are going to ban. Sometimes they are giving some false information. And trading age restrictions. Some products they have age restrictions. For example, let's say cigarettes, right? Some products in some countries the age restrictions are there. It's like sometimes it's like 29 above, 21 above. So some countries it's actually 40 above. Hmm? Like that, so they are giving some age restriction for some products. Customer payment methods, because a lot of online scandals and online problems are there, customer payments, cheating situations. They have legislation on that. And consumer right protection acts. Way of products are promoted, product promotion methods, the quality of products, quality cover, and also the safety of the products, everything. Each and every issue be covered by the legislation. Okay, after competition, we're talking about the competition policy. So government must be able to have some fair competition in the organization, in the industry. So government should try to promote the competition. This helps to prevent the anti-competitive practices of the consumer exploitation. They can do this by encouraging the growth of small firms. They can do it by lowering the barriers to entry in the country, and also they can introduce like a anti-competitive legislation. Right? These are the main three things. The competition can be controlled, like encouraging more and more the growth of small firms. Otherwise, what happen? Always the big businesses in the industry, they will dominate the market. This is not good. So must always give the chance to small people to come out and then grow without dominating by the few large firms. And lowering the barriers to entry is another thing. Second one, so it must able to lower or remove the barriers of entry. Must be given some chances to join the market, and then as a result of that, competition will be increasing. Like example, they give like public transportation, sometimes provided by only the public sector, but sometimes law have been changed to allow the private companies to provide public transport services. Now you can see like country like Sri Lanka, you can see we have everything: private sector transportation, transportation, right? Private hospital, public hospital, private schools, public schools, right? Private sector airlines and also public airlines, and also like the private banks, public banks. So every topic, every business area, we have public and private both participation we can see. And introducing anti-competitive legislation, which means that they help encourage competition also. Such laws are often designed to protect the consumers from exploitation by monopoly, right? By merger, M&A. Sometimes some countries they actually M&A everything they create. They always they have blocked. They say uh, creating some unnecessary advantage for you. For example, let's say the biggest one is Lafarge Holcim, that the mainly the cement provider. Like that. So Lafarge is another company, Holcim is another company, like two companies. It's kind of so many things. But there are mergers and everything. There are restrictive practice. Sometimes they government sometimes they encourage some mergers, some situations they discourage M&A, mergers and acquisitions. So anyway, these are the policy measures taken by government in order to inquire these mergers, takeovers, and anti-competitive practices. Right. And we're talking about the environmental legislation. Also, you can see this smoke comes out of this picture. A good example of air pollution. Not only this, air pollution, water pollution, land pollution, everything, site pollution. So many the businesses are mainly these are the causes of pollution. So what government can do? So government always actually standing for the environment side to protect the environment, and they have given some kind of framework to actually control the pollution. Give example like packaging, change the package. No, don't use the polythene. Hmm? Use recycling material for the polythene. Without using polythene, you can use paper bags, something like. Another approach you can see many government to pass the laws to minimize the damage done by the environment, like that, because some pressure groups are created like Greenpeace organization and environmental legislation emerge recently. You can see a lot of especially concerning global warming. Hmm? So government always say you have to support these policies always. Without this, you can't do the business. Another one is say trade policy. Sometimes government helping the businesses by their trade policies, like protectionism mechanism. You can see like protect jobs, protect infant industries from multinationals to prevent dumping, like selling like a less than the below the cost in domestic market. Is anyway bad for the infant industries. Why dumping strategies done by the call like predatory pricing done by the multinational firms. As a result, they cannot actually the local business can't match their prices with that kind of a low price. This is very, very bad practice by the multinational dumping strategy. So government should be there to control them, to stop them, to protect the local businesses, and also raise revenue from tariff. It's another advantage. You must be able to uh, from tariff are there like motor importation tariff, import export tariff and custom duties and charges. From that way they can reduce the encourage discourage the policy. And government can use the trade barriers to restrict. What are trade barriers? We're talking here tariff, quota, subsidy, and administrative barriers. Guys, you can this kind of a quota tariff. Tariff mean tax on import. I'm explaining everything. You can see tariff mean tax on import, especially like it's a luxury item. They put more tariff. Quota, you can see it's a physical limit, a physical limitation on kind of allowed in the country. It's a physical limitation that's called the quota. So that's the difference between uh, tax and the quota. Quota is a physical limit on the goods. Tariff is a tax on import. Yeah. So yeah, one student asking how actually dumping was bad for the country. You can see when the foreign product are sold at below the cost in the domestic market, exactly is good for the customers. Like normal customers, consumers is good for the consumer. Why? You can have the foreign product at very low prices. But what about the local industries? What about the infant industries? What about the local level? A lot of families are depending on that. Imagine like if multinational companies are selling like that, what happened? What happened to the local industries? This happened in 2009 in France. Amazon company they used to sell their books online without charging shipping cost. So it's kind of a dumping strategy. But all other normal traditional booksellers in that country was actually they cannot avoid the shipping cost, so they had always their shipping cost always to the unit price of a book. So as a result, all the booksellers association go and complain to the French government to change this situation. And as a result, Amazon was fined 1 billion euro at that time to fine because they had to stop this because you cannot sell a book by without avoiding the shipping cost because that becomes significantly cheaper than other normal traditional booksellers. So this kind of a dumping strategy they are doing in order to capture the market. The local businessmen, the local people who are doing this business, all the what happen? They will destroy. That's why I think you can understand dumping is bad for the business point of view. So other businesses, it is bad. it is bad. So, but for the customer's point of view, this is actually in short term, this is good. Okay, so we'll talk about the other thing like subsidies. Anyway, farmers and everything, government has to give subsidies, and also administrative barriers also there, right? Administrative barriers like you can get the like food safety, health and safety, environmental regulation, specification, importation, everything is really important. So these are the things. So and finally, right? And government can also influence the business by forming trade blocks. Trade blocks of there, like we're talking that thing in our my next session. What are the trade blocks? Some European Union, SAFTA, NAFTA, BRICS, and everything. Okay, so wrap up the lesson today. So we talk about today mainly the most important thing how government policies are affecting for the organization, how government they can participate for the controlling of the business. They can use different policies, guys. So we talk about the government can have impact on business legislation, cover these things like the price and the quality of the product, consumer rights, consumer and customer payment method. So many things areas they covered by the legislation. We talk about different competition policy and how this competition policy work, environmental policy, how this environmental policy work, and also infrastructure provision, legislation, consumer protection. So little bit you can see little bit technical, but it's easy. You can easily understand this thing because the students who are doing economics, again, these topics being covered there. So then we talk about mainly the government spending, the tax income, and everything. So mainly in our session, we talk about this, our lesson objective is accomplished. We talk about the government, how they are spending and taxation in public sector services. And we understand why government might constrain on public spending. And we understand how government can affect the business sector through infrastructure provision, legislation, and trade policy. Right? Okay, then my next session is CEO about the other thing, how the consumer spending and especially the interest rate effect on business and everything happen, and exchange rate, interest rates on business and consumer spending, how it will be affected. So this is the government spending and government objectives and policies. And also we are going to talk about the fiscal policy and monetary policy also in my next session. Then if you like my video, you can subscribe my channel and you can re-listen to this session again. So then thank you very much for being with me. Have a wonderful day. Bye.
Thank you, sir. Bye, sir.